Welcome, welcome, my friends, my tribe, my backup plan family. How are you all guys doing today? I'm so excited to be here today and talk about something that we hear a lot about in the news, something we don't like to hear about in the news. What could that be? Something that hurts me every time I hear somebody having it done to them. I find it too easy. I think it's getting a little bit better now with consent and things like that. But what could it be but sexual assault? And today we have a sexual assault victim survivor as our interview guest today. And I'm so excited to have her here from Mexico. Her name is Kiera Lucha. And I'm excited to have her on today and talk to you about her experience, as well as what she found helpful after, and what she still finds helpful today, and how she can help you, perhaps if you know somebody or if you have been in this situation, help you move on and find a better light, a better life, better happiness than surviving with that trauma. So that being said, let's get the party started. Thriving Beyond Trauma, a sexual assault survivor's guide to overcoming relationships, fear, and toxicity. And that's so very true. Too much toxic relationships can cause situations like this, even in a relationship. And so I'm excited about getting started. So let's have our quick introduction, and I'll see you back.
In the blink of an eye, life can change dramatically. On our podcast, Talking Taboo with Tina, we delve into these life-altering events with celebrities, authors, and everyday people just like you. You'll also discover your Backup Plan app, a life-organizing tool designed to prepare you for any unexpected circumstance. It's your safety net, taking the sting out of tragedy. Imagine a plan B that ensures your finances are safe, even in the worst-case scenario. But it doesn't end there. Join our vibrant Facebook group for free webinars on backup planning and secure your future today.
We're back. I'm so excited to bring on Kiera Lucha. I'm so happy to have you here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Tina. I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's get this party started because I'm so excited to hear your story, even as bad, and I'm sure it is. But, I'm excited about people learning something from what you talk about today. And that's my ultimate goal in all of my shows. And so thank you for coming on and being vulnerable to all of us. Thank you.
Yes, it's my honor. When I was newly recovering from this, I had people who came and who spoke to me and my recovery group and gave me hope. And it's an honor to be able to do that for somebody else. So I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, and the tools that I had to learn to get back to myself because of this tragedy that happens to so many people. Now they're the tools that I use to help other people through embodiment coaching.
Oh, nice. I didn't mention to people that you are in Mexico, but you have, you're on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and that you do psychic readings and you're an embodiment coach. Where did all of this start for you? How did you get involved in? Where did it all start? Even though you say it, you didn't want it to start.
How it all started. Well, I had a fairly quote unquote normal life. But it wasn't. This incident was the keg that really changed everything for me. I had to stop my life and heal. It forced me to. There was no alternative. So how this started for me, I was working. I used to work in the film industry, and I yeah, I was just out one night, and this also is a story of recovery for me from alcoholism as well. And so I tried to go to an event with some friends. I was late. The event was over, and the event was at a bar. And so I just said, why don't I just stay at this bar and see if I can get anybody to buy me drinks? Because my show that I was on had just ended. I wasn't planning for it to end, so I didn't have income coming in. And I was like, I'll just be a charming girl and see who will buy me drinks. And unfortunately, somebody that I had no interest in, that I was just using to get to buy me drinks, they just took advantage of me sexually. And it's an unfortunate tale as old as time. I could get into the nitty-gritty details of it, but I know that so many people have this experience. And so because of this individual, I went from having a night out to waking up the next day with that absolute horrible question that so many assault survivors have of what just happened? What just happened to me? Was I just raped? And of course, the person lied. And it's such
Did
a
you
horrible.
did you wake up with them or in their room or somewhere else that you didn't
Yes,
know?
yes. So I had, they drove me home because they're like, oh, you've had too much to drink.
The
And so
same
they drove,
person that was buying you
Mhm.
drinks?
Yeah, and they drove me home. And this is also like, I'm a soft-hearted person. I'm a kind person. I do healing work with people. But this is like when you really need to be clear-headed, you need to defend yourself. It is okay to lie. It is okay to do certain things when you are protecting yourself. And to this stranger, it was January. It was January 10th, 2017. And it was cold where I was living. I was living in Atlanta at the time. And this person, I said, oh, you can crash on my couch. Like, I don't want you like sleeping in your car. Like, that's weird. But we hadn't kissed, we hadn't done anything. And like, I had met that person that night. That is not okay just because they seem nice. They're like, you can sleep in my house, random person I just met. But when your mind is addled by consistent alcohol use, and it's late, and you have a good heart and you are a good person, you make bad decisions, sometimes unsafe decisions that don't take into account that the world can be hard and unforgiving. And so we hadn't kissed, we hadn't, but
It was in
so
the danger zone, I guess, right?
yeah, well, yeah, I allowed this person, I said, I'm going to bed, you can sleep on my couch. And I had taken a sleeping pill. I always took sleeping pills to go to sleep. And so that combined with the alcohol, I was completely out. And I woke up the next morning and they were in my bed. And yeah, they were being romantic with me when I woke up, and not in a way that I had invited. That really honestly perverts the word romantic. I shouldn't even use it. So I asked, I was like, what just happened? What? And they
Yeah.
lied. Yeah, they lied. And I didn't call the police. I would have had a very valid reason to, and if anybody would have brought me to a hospital and tested, I would have come up very positive with this person's DNA. But I just wanted it gone. I wanted this situation over. I wanted this man away from me. And
I think that probably happens majority of the time.
like, I'm from America, and we don't have a good track record of police helping people. Unfortunately, I'm sure you hear about it in the news all the time, that
Yeah.
There is a lot of police brutality in that country, and also, you know, a lot of, I felt I was under the impression that a lot of injustice to rape victims. And I honestly don't know if I got that impression from Law and Order SVU or something, but I just knew that if it was true and I was about to have to get dragged through the court system and not see justice or not be treated well, that it would, I couldn't do it. I felt that I would rather take care of it myself than have to do that and not have, be treated well, be treated gently, be treated with respect. And also, I was massively in denial, massively in denial. I was in shock, physical and emotional shock. And so
Yuckiness,
yeah.
like
Mhm.
yuckiness.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I was
Just
like,
want to like,
what just happened? What is my life? So actually what I did next, I got this person out of my house, never spoke to them again. And to be honest, why I think everything happened in the best way I could handle it. I have, you know, I'm only ever going to support a survivor, and not tear anybody down for how they took care of themselves. But I only wish that I could have gotten this person off the streets, away from another person, you know. I
in
if
some shape or form.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't go back and change it, but the only reason I would, if I could, was just I wish they weren't. I hope they weren't able to do that again.
But I
But right,
think that's,
that's why
I
I
think
help people now. I help people now.
exactly. I think that's why so many women come back 10 years later, 5 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later to talk
Mhm.
about it, because it takes so long to absorb what happened and forgive
Yeah.
yourself.
I
Like
couldn't
that
say
takes
the
so
word
much.
rape for years. I couldn't say the word rape for years. It was so loaded, and there was a lot of verbal shame in talking about it for me. And
Do you
it's
have any
hard.
visualization, as much as you've tried at all, to the last what you remember and to the what you remembered first? Like, is there any remembering?
I feel like it's kind of a blessing and a curse. So the sleeping medication that I was on was Ambien. I no longer take this. It's a very serious drug. It's a very serious drug, and it essentially will wipe your memory. Um, so I don't, from the minute I went to sleep to the minute I woke up, I don't have any recollection other than that. And I'm honestly glad. But what is very common is flashbacks, and we misidentify the word flashbacks all the time. But in a trauma enforced sense, flashbacks are actually mostly happen when you're falling asleep or waking up. It's when you're in that liminal brainwave state that you really feel transported somewhere else. And for me, and this is a hot tip, I actually, I think 4 or 5 months into my recovery from this, I got a little kitten. He was also 4 months old. And he was there to help me in the nights, because as I was falling asleep, that was when I would have a really hard time as far as remembering any kind of moments or feeling transported to any of those kind of moments. And I know that it is a common occurrence, as I went through rape trauma groups with other women and heard their stories. So, yeah, I do feel, in a sense, blessed to not have many memories of it. But the flashbacks during that time
Mhm.
were occasionally present, but also it's very normal for rape survivors to have.
Oh, so scary.
Mhm.
I don't know if it is a blessing or a curse. Honestly, it would be good to know, but then it's not good to remember. So it's, you know,
Yeah.
What
My work became learning to be present in my body. And so I did have to deal with the emotions, and you're especially, within the first year of rape survival, you are always reminded. There are reminders, and there were days where I would think, am I ever gonna not have the thought, I'm a rape survivor, I was raped? Is there gonna be a day where that doesn't pop up in my head? And I'm thrilled to say that now I have so many days where I don't think that. But you are reminded. You don't forget for a long time. So my job became learning how to feel physically safe in my present body and mentally present, and having that all work together. And so the reminders, I didn't have to reach for them, they were there. And so it actually became a job for me to learn how to get back to this beautiful, worthy body that I have now.
I think grief is like that too, because it must be some sort of like a trauma as well. And you get these flashbacks night and day, and you get triggers, song, smell.
Yeah, I did have a lot of triggers for sure.
And what about relationships after the fact?
Relationships after the fact. Well, it was interesting. So, like I said, with recovery, that actually started first. I realized that I make unsafe decisions when I drink, and that no, I'm never going to blame a victim, but I was only using that person to buy me alcohol. And I said, okay, I have a problem if I'm only around somebody because I want them for that. So I went a very traditional route, and I just walked into the nearest 12-step room, and I started doing that. And so one of the suggestions was that we don't date for the first year of sobriety. It's nothing's a requirement. It's the beauty of it. You can walk in or walk out whenever you want. But I wanted to be just kind of, I was very like, show me how to feel better. Geez, I feel the worst in my life right now. So I really kept my distance as far as dating because of that. And also because I was very, I wouldn't even say mentally fearful of men. I was very, like, it was like my body would get hijacked. Like if a man got too close to me, I stopped working in film because it was all men. And I took really beautiful, nurturing jobs where I would work at a children's toy store that had art classes. There's a lot of feminine energy, a lot of kids. But if I was working at a counter and a man came up and he got too close to my side of the counter, that could just make my whole body lock up, and I could be really, really upset and scared for the rest of the evening, So there was a, like, mentally, I'm trying to recover, so I'll listen to what you say and not date, but also the just not feeling okay with men. So learning to date after that, I did wait at least a year. And then I went to graduate school almost 363 days after, so almost exactly a year. So any graduate program is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And busy. And so I wasn't particularly starting relationships, but when I did towards the end of that period, so maybe even a couple of years later, I think it would have been, if all of this happened January 2017, I think I really had my first, like, this is my guy, almost boyfriend, whatever, spring of 2019. And I had done a lot of work during that time to feel connected to my body, to have friends, I did a lot of grounding stuff. So like every day I would wake up, meditate for 10 minutes. Not that I knew what that was when I started. It just grounded, I would just, so funny because when I started, now I'm very spiritual, but I 0% spirituality, but I would pray, say, put out good energy for myself. And then I would go to the gym, and these little, having
Good
a
for you.
schedule. Yeah. Having a schedule, having a routine that physically brought me back to my body, mentally brought me back to the present, really helped. I did that legitimately at least every day for the first year, and probably for the first couple of years. I've done that every day for years. And now, I will add it with sound healing. I will add it to music, but all of that, like that, you don't, just a little thing as 10 minutes in the morning and just having you don't even need to go to the gym. You can go on a walk, but something like that really, really grounded me. So first thing I did was I got myself in environments that felt safe as well as work. And I was scared about the money. But strangers helped me. Like, my government paid for a lot of my recovery. I paid nothing for, and like, this is an American talking. Like,
Yeah.
I found loopholes. I found free systems. I found there are, like, contact your county for, survivor networks and stuff. Like, I found a lot of free care, a lot of free therapy. And so I did a lot of like personal grounding work. And then I felt safe in myself, in my personhood, in my friend group, in my school. And so then once I really felt reestablished and all that, I started dating again, and I got on the apps, and I
That
was
took a
so
lot of nerve.
yeah, I was ready. I was, because you still want companionship. And I I went out on a couple of dates with this guy, and he was very kind, very sweet, very caring, and I could tell he thought the world of me. Like, he really cared about me. And that is what it took, is somebody who was
Caring
and gentle and kind, and I felt safe with. I felt like they, could, like, just were kind and protective and all these things. And so that's like kind of who I chose to like be romantic with and engage in dating and all. That was the first person I went out with, I remember. And it was a big step. It was a big deal. I felt like I was like literally diving in, like when you are a kid and you're learning to dive, and you're okay, now I'm not doing the side of the pool. Now I'll do the diving board, and you're looking down, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to jump in. Totally felt like that. But it just really, like, I gave myself time, literal years, until I felt okay in my body. And it really just took that grounding and reestablishing in myself and in my surroundings. And I knew that I had good friends, good community, that I was a solid person, that whether or not anything went badly, I wouldn't be completely thrown off guard, and that he could hold space for me too, because it was not graceful all the time.
Yeah.
There were, like, I felt like I was relearning a lot of relationship stuff, and there were like tears and whatever. And he just really like adored me and held space while I was working out the mess of like recreating, reconnecting in this way. So that's how I kind of like chose to re-enter the relationship sphere.
I don't think people can really, really understand until you've had something similar happen to you. Because it's so many things tied up in one ball. It's betrayal, it's trust, it's violation. There's so many words that I could say.
Yeah.
That when you look at it, that's a lot to overcome.
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard because everyone's story is different. There were women in my group who were dealing with it with spouses, and they were having to figure out how to safely get them and their children away from someone that they relied on for their home, for their finances. You know, there were women in my group who really had a very horrifying Law and Order SVU experience that was random strangers attacking, you know. There was my story. And then there's also the ways in which we respond to it. There was a girl who I really admired in my group who was like, she went right to the police. She was calling everybody out, whereas I really couldn't. I couldn't speak. No, Tina, I couldn't speak. I didn't know this until I was put in the group later, and they said, finally, you can graduate to the group. But my person said, do you know why we did so many worksheets in the beginning? I said, no, why? She said, you really couldn't use words. And so people respond differently too. And so that's another reason why grief and anything that traumatizes you in your body, you know, whether that's an injury, a car accident, a rape, anything. And a rape is also a soul violation. It shatters your soul and, you know, how you deal with it and everything. And it's all different. And I will say, for me, I really was trying, I was like qualifying, like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. To any victims, throw that out the window. They shouldn't have raped you, point blank. And it took me a really long time to learn that lesson. But from knowing that, that was my breaking point to when I finally got that in my skull, I was able to really start recovering. When I let myself feel the anger, I was able to start getting better. And I realized, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted all the time. Every time I go out, I can't go to a simple fabric store to help pick out fabric with my friend because I come back exhausted because I've been calculating where everyone is in the store the entire time. What's more chill than walking into a fabric store and like everybody in there is so laid back, whatever, like looking at thread. I'm exhausted.
Like a library.
Because, yeah, exactly. That was my breaking point, was realizing I was wrecked. And it was because this person had violated me. And now I couldn't go in public without mentally and emotionally and my nervous system being haywire because I had to figure out, it's called hypervigilance, where every single person is at all times. And so once I let myself feel this anger, for me, that was really when I took like big strides, and it's not graceful and it's messy, but knowing that there are a lot of people in your life who will hold that space for you, and even new people, because I was like, oh, no one's gonna love me now, you know, I'm too messy and too damaged. Yeah. And there are people who will absolutely adore you and hold space for the mess.
I'm not going to say one's worse than the other because it's like grief. Like you said, all the victims and survivors are all different scenarios. Some similar, some not so similar, but all similar in the way that what's happened is real. So what I wanted to say was, in those cases where they're beat up, perhaps gang raped, or beat up and raped, or whatever that other part of it is, like, I just don't know how anyone gets over that. It's just like they're all bad, but all of it together, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I will just say I've seen people recover from it. I woke up covered in massive amounts of bruises, like really bruises, like 2 hands long all over my thighs, black, and I didn't know. And Yeah, I would just say make sure you get medical care immediately. You don't need to figure anything out. You don't need to justify. Just physically get
No,
yourself okay. And there will be time to figure everything else out. And not even figure, because it's unfathomable that people would do this to another human being. And,
absolutely.
and so I don't think we need to try to fathom it. We just need to get back to a sense of knowing that you are an incredible, worthy person, and you are worth having people come back to life. But I will say that I actually, especially with victims who have um, experienced physical violence, that they become fighters for their life. And it's tragic that they have to, but it's beautiful. And that they are warrior women. And they really, and you know, whether or not they're fighters in the moment, because most people aren't. Even trained soldiers, if they are raped, it's an actual nervous system response. We fight, flight, freeze, or fawn when we are attacked, usually. And so I know that of a story, like a graduate of the program ahead of me. She was a trained soldier. She was raped and she didn't fight, she froze. So, but it's the people who, you know, don't choose to exit this world, because for me, that's what got me to go get help, is that I got to a place of sadness about the whole thing, that I felt myself not wanting to be on earth anymore. I was too shattered. And
Yeah,
I didn't feel like I was going to do anything about it, but it was a very real feeling for me that I didn't want to exist anymore. And so, right, if you keep existing, you're a fighter because you fought, you have that will to live. And it is a really beautiful thing. And I will say that anybody who comes back from this, they can go through any hardship later on. I know. And I've gone through some really hard things since that would scare a lot of people. And they do scare me, you know, occasionally, but not in the same way where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to recover for this. I've been through hell and I've come back, and I
yeah.
know I'm going to recover. And anybody who goes through this will. And
That's really beautiful. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's true.
And everybody, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel just right here down below, right there. Press that subscribe button if you already haven't, to make sure that you get notified of any videos that are upcoming. Like Kira has been a wonderful guest, and her information is also down in the box below for you guys if you want to reach out to her. I I just have no words. I don't know how it would be like to sit with a whole bunch of other women that have gone through this. Like, there are so many different situations where you've either seen it happen or you didn't see it happen. Um, but nobody's worse than the other. It's still happened, like you said. It's still there. You can't take that away, unfortunately. If you could turn time back, you would probably do things differently. But like I say, until you've walked a day in this person's victim's shoes, you have no idea. And I'm sure they would make different decisions too, but at the time you made those decisions and it happened. Um, did you want it to happen? No, but it did happen. And so, like you said, how do you overcome these fears and these triggers? I think that's probably the worst part, is the triggers of, because you could be just work, you could be at work, you could be enjoying yourself with some friends, or you could be at a fabric store. Like, there's nothing where you're put in the exact same position that you feel the same feeling. It's always, could be at Christmas time, could be around the dinner table. Like that's the scary part, I think, of the whole thing, are the triggers.
Yeah. Definitely not pleasant. I will tell you that. I had a hard time hearing a certain album, a certain song. That was like my favorite album. But driving by the like a certain place was really hard for me. And I will say that's also how you can measure wins is like, it takes time. A lot. I had a lot of anger that I wasn't recovering faster. I remember around 10 months after because I was working so hard. I was going to therapy. I was going to trauma recovery. I was going to group. I was going to 3 trauma recovery things a week. I was surrounded by beautiful sober women and sisters. I had a recovery cat to keep me okay at night. Why wasn't I getting better? I was working so hard. And it was very much trauma recovery is very much, yes, please do all those things to take care of yourself. Be so selfish, take care of yourself. But also, time takes time. And one day you will wake up and you'll hear that song and you go, hey, that doesn't send me into a cold sweat. That doesn't make me panic. Or like,
Make me want to throw up.
yeah. Do I still like driving by this bar to this day, 7 years after? I'm 7 years post. No, I kind of like, but it's not like gonna make me really upset. Or because my sobriety date is tied to this incident, sobriety dates are usually celebrated. But for me, a lot of times my 6 month sober was I thought it's been 6 months since I've been raped. It's been 1 year. And that was really sad for a long time. And that was hard. I just had 7 years sobriety. Do I feel the sadness I used to feel? No, I feel really proud of myself. I'm really happy, So it's, you just appreciate, when things do change. And so it is, yeah, it's really unpleasant. And like I said, like for me, very much like if a man just like kind of made any kind of like movement too close, just too close to whatever my personal bubble was, that would really wreck me. I would go home and sit in a ball on the couch for the rest of the night. And now, I have a fairly quote unquote typical, I wouldn't say normal, but like typical spatial relationship to people. And so that's a win.
That's a
Time takes
huge
time.
improvement.
Yeah. And triggers absolutely suck, but keep taking care of yourself. And then one day they will get less. And when that happens, notice it and celebrate it. And then know a later day they will get less again, And like I said, I do a lot of biohacking and a lot of somatic work to help feel safe in our bodies again. And so in my process of healing, of getting back into my body, I started learning these things because I would have a lot of like psychosomatic like issues, and like the talk therapy wasn't going to work for me. So I couldn't talk, and I couldn't talk my way into feeling safe. I couldn't rationalize it, and you really shouldn't. I don't think there is a way to rationalize a kind of violation like this.
Yeah.
So I learned things like vagal nerve breathing, which is I breathe in through my nose. I count to 5, breathing in through my nose. I count to 5, breathing out through my mouth. And do that 5 times in a row while sitting on a grounded surface. You can be cross-legged on the ground. And that stimulates the vagus nerve, which is very much involved in getting out of fight, flight, or freeze and into your parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. But also, it's a very huge part of what's very confused and on high alert for sexual assault survivors. So I learned things like that, and that's a biohack that I use at the beginning and the end of every sound healing session I do. I also do sound healing, and yeah, so there's so many things like that. So yes, time takes time, do all things selfishly, but I also really enjoyed a lot of biohacking because I used to love to dance, and now I do love to dance. It's what got me started in my nomadic journey. But I couldn't dance after I was ripped. I couldn't move my body. I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
And I thought, am I ever going to be able to move my body again? And I
That's a
am.
great celebration.
Yeah. Yeah. But when I
I
started dancing again, for the longest time, I couldn't dance with my eyes open. And then I
oh,
could dance with my eyes open, but I couldn't look other people in the eye. And then cut
so
to
it was
now,
stages.
yeah, stages and celebrating each stage. And now I lead opening and closing sound master times during ecstatic dance. So really stages and celebrating each stage, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the other sympathetic nervous system thing I did or do is the tapping.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I find that really helpful because it just takes my mind. I didn't even know it was a thing. I just started doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I was like, one of the guests on our show said that is a thing. And I didn't even know I was doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's EFT tapping, which it has more of a process and you say words and you cancel limiting beliefs. But also, I used to do that. Actually, I still do this where I kind of run my fingertips softly on the inside of my elbow. And for me, I asked the therapist once, I was like, why do I do this? He goes, that's a self-soothing mechanism. In sound healing, one of the self-soothing mechanisms we like all the time, which when I say it, you're going to go, of course, low humming.
Mm.
Kind of just holding your hand on your heart, maybe your hand on your belly and just humming to yourself. If you're at work or something, just putting yourself in a closet or in a car if you don't want everybody to look. But
Outside or something.
yeah, low humming. And when you think about it, what do mothers do to their babies? They kind of hold them and they do some low humming sounds. And so when we do that, it does the same thing. So also lots of biohacks that I've used on myself as well to help me get back into my body and feel calm in my body anywhere, because I wasn't about to let this keep me out of the world.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that's awesome. I can't believe that the time is almost near already.
I
Wow.
know, I was thinking that too.
Where is it gone? Like we just got started. I'm going to have you come back because we're going to have to talk about some other ways that maybe you've learned from the group sessions with other women and their journeys as well, like things that people can try. Can you think of another one that someone could try to use to?
Mm, let's see.
Your brain is an interesting thing, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I would say leaving space for your brain to be interesting. Very much in the time takes time vein. Like I would have really obtrusive thoughts, which now is like I know it's like a version of OCD, and it would like be really like harmful, weird flashes of things. And I had no desire to hurt someone. I've never hurt anyone, but like weird impulsive thoughts and that also too went away, but that's common for survivors. And again, yeah,
To release
so
that anger or something.
I guess I'm not exactly sure
Yeah.
why, but
Imagine that
really,
fighting, that
yeah.
kickboxing would be really helpful.
Yeah, I love to swim a lot. For me, swimming is very meditative and it gets the energy out. A lot of physical activities. Like I did yoga the other day. I'm not a yoga person, but I did. And again, I wanted to cry. It's that kind of opening and release. So there is plenty of that. I'm just like, tick, tick, tick. So I actually did an interview with my group trauma leader because during 2020, because I realized I was having PTSD responses. And I said, if I am, everybody else is.
Yeah.
It's such a however you feel about COVID or not, most people were very traumatized by everything that was happening. And one of the things she said that really helps people is self-care, in the sense of like taking your time as much as you need, but like taking grooming yourself in a way that feels good. Like a shower, or sometimes for me, putting on makeup, but this is real. It's the act of touching your face in like a slow, unhurried, methodical way. Um, Anything like that in a kind of like cleaning, cleansing is very soothing. It feels good because you've taken care of yourself, but also one of the big signs that like people are really falling into a depression is lack of grooming, lack of hygiene. And so not only will it literally physically help your system, but it's also going to kind of like combat the depressives, as we say. So
Yeah.
that's another one. But yeah, like screaming, being in sisterhood,
Helps.
or grouphood, yeah, but I also do not want to negate anybody with a male experience. And it's just unfortunate that there are less male identifying people who come forward, and really being in a group
Yeah.
saved me. So finding people that you feel free to and safe to share your experience with, um, absolutely, and just being in those environments, I'd say, is the number one thing. If you don't feel okay to do that, like I said, with a pet, it's really important to have some people providing safe love to you.
Right.
It's really
Support.
important.
Support.
Su- Support, but what support actually breaks down to is a safe love. And that's why people stay in domestic abuse relationships, is because like it's getting confused with that. And it's like you need to be really in a place that 100% feels safe and loving to you. And that's true support. And so that definitely, you need a group, whether
Right.
and who can really understand. I would say finding people who are trained to help you.
What I found really helpful is not just walking out in the woods or outside, the
Mm,
ocean,
yeah,
or trees, but
yeah.
also I put on a weight belt and I went into a
Mm,
pool and I stayed underwater. And there was
mm,
something very exhilarating about that. I don't know, the sound of the water, the sound of the quietness,
mhm.
um, was just so different from being out in the outside world to being
Yeah.
underwater. I felt that really beneficial so maybe it might help someone.
Yeah, I mean, now as you're saying it, we both have water because swimming is really a big one for me as well. And there's a thing called water flow therapy, and it's very soothing. And, like, right, it mimics the womb, which is this first safe form space we're in. So I think that totally attracts. And now that you're saying that as well, I remember I used to, especially during that time, sleep with a weighted blanket. And definitely, and I went on a lot of hikes, right? Because I wasn't talking, I was not okay, I was not using words, but I felt the beauty in the woods. I felt I was trying to tap into spirituality, and I had no concept of that. But when I was in the majesty of nature, that's when I started. I was looking at the
Yeah,
light on the leaves and the ground. And it's hard when you're recovering this to be able to conceive of anything that's beautiful.
it is.
And so to be in nature's like calmness and beauty kind of re-shows you like the world is possible. There is beauty here. I know it feels horrible right now, and it feels like nothing will be okay and nothing is beautiful, but there is beauty here. And so nature really showed me that, as well. And yeah, that weighted safety. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is absolutely a thing too. Yeah.
And I know in a lot of different situations, with your backup plan, there are situations where you need to find safety.
Hmm.
It might be with a boyfriend or a live-in partner or a husband, whatever the situation might be. But you need to find somewhere safe. And when you do that, you also need to accumulate every piece of paperwork and document or take a picture of anything you possibly can. Because you know when that person comes back, you won't be able to do that in that time frame.
Absolutely.
So is to be able to find that stuff and start accumulating it so that when the time comes to take that jump and leave, however that looks, whether it's a nice leave or run out the door because the person's left leave, whatever that looks like, you're prepared.
Yeah,
So,
you need to take photographic evidence of any visible signs of abuse, or if their house, they broke through things and also send those, or put it in your backup plan app, but send those to somebody safe, because what if this person gets access to your phone, deletes things? You need to get medical treatment. Why? Because they document that, because hospitals document that. The police document that. In the US, it's illegal for them to turn you away for this kind of testing, although we've heard horror stories about it happening, whatever. Get the documentation. And for me, finally, I thank God, did go get medical testing, STI testing. I got out of denial enough to
do
think,
it.
yeah, and it was because of that they gave me a booklet of resources. And when I was feeling like I couldn't go on because of this, I looked in the booklet, and there was a hotline number, a rape crisis hotline number for my county, and I called it and I told them what was going on. They said, okay, we're going to get you in there. So I would also say almost anywhere in the US, and I'm sure Canada, there are houses to house domestic violence victims and their children. And call churches, call synagogues. If you're not finding it in your county, just keep calling. They are trained to help you with this. They will keep you safe. A lot of people are worried that their partner or abuser is going to find them. They literally, like, a lot of them don't even have signage, because they won't let you in the front door, and it's all to have safety. So a lot of these women don't leave because they don't feel like they're going to be safe where they go. A lot of these places, this is what they're there for. They know how to deal with it. I know it's hard when you're being abused to give your trust and your safety even over to somebody that you're like, I don't know these people, but just it can save your life. It really can.
Sure can.
So
And
keep
your
your documents. Yeah. And your family too. So keep your documents, keep track of everything, put them somewhere safe, send them to somebody you trust, and get yourself out of there, and you can recover. Just take care of yourself in the very moment. Don't worry about anything but taking care of yourself in that very moment. And eventually those moments add up into years later having a beautiful life again.
Would you like to come back to the show at some point, maybe over the summer?
Absolutely. I would love to.
That'd be awesome, everybody. I'd love to have her, Kiera, come back. I'd love to have you come back. And we could talk about maybe the existing sexual assault situation that's happening now with Hockey Canada. We could talk more about that, and your group sessions and things that are treatments of some sort too. Like, we could jot some down from now till then, and maybe go over some of those things. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
What kind of final message would you like to give the listeners?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what I just said is, when you're going through any kind of recovery, I always like to say the beautiful thing is you got to be very selfish, and your job is to be in this moment and take care of yourself and nurture yourself and just focus on that. A lot of people are really stressed about, like, oh, the money and this and that. It somehow magically works out. I didn't have any money. I stopped working. I didn't even tell my family, right? Because I couldn't use words. until I was like, oh, how am I going to pay my mortgage? Any of this. I focused on my recovery every day, and somehow it worked out. And so just stay in the moment, keep taking care of yourself minute after minute. And eventually, all of those minutes add up to years, and you get to live a life that eventually will feel a lot better.
That you
It's
didn't think you
true.
would be capable of.
No, I really didn't know. I really didn't know if I would feel okay ever again. And now, I still struggle with life, but in a very normal way.
Yeah,
In the very normal
that's
way, which
awesome.
is beautiful. Yeah. And so you're also going to know, unfortunately, you can take on anything, and you're gonna be a superhero. You already are. So just keep taking care of yourself in the moment. Each moment will add up, and I know you have a community, Tina. So I love to hear the people who are just like, yeah, I do feel better, because for me, that's what it was. I was
Yeah.
not sure I would feel okay ever again, but all I did was have the shred of hope to fight for myself. And now, like, I live a beautiful life where I do healing stuff. I travel around the world. I dance. I
And you help
sing.
others.
I help others. I have beautiful friends and family. So it really all is possible.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much for that. Oh, thank you for coming too. I hope that it's helped somebody somewhere. That's my ultimate goal,
That
and
was
I'm
my
sure it is yours
intention.
too.
Yeah. Before we turned on, I took a breath and I said, I hope this helped who needs to hear it today.
Absolutely. And I'm
Hmm.
sure we could find people every single day that this video is out there. I'm sure that's
Hmm.
how many sexual assault victims there are, unfortunately.
Hmm.
It's awful to say, and I don't even comprehend it. I
It's
just don't.
incomprehensible. It's incomprehensible.
I could never do that to anything. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I know I felt bad about killing my fish. Like,
Right.
I was so mad. I had bought this fighting fish, and I
Oh.
had bought two for my girls, and I put them in the jar together, not knowing what they did. And they were beautiful colored fish, and I was so happy. And I came back that night for dinner, and one of them is picking on the other one. And I'm like, you can't do that. Shame on you. What are you doing to him? Stop it. And so I took him out of the fish bowl, and I put him into this other bowl in water
Mhm.
on the counter. And when I woke up in the morning, the fish was lying on the counter.
No.
And I felt so bad about killing this fish. I didn't mean to kill it. I was giving it a timeout.
Was he trying to go back for
But
more? He was trying to jump back to the other ball for some more
I
round
don't
two.
know, but I was just so angry that you're going to
Oh,
bully this other poor fish. How dare
no.
you?
Oh, no.
So so that's my story of being mean. But that being said, thank you everybody for coming on our show today. I appreciate each and every one of you. You're a great community, and remember, you're definitely not Superman,
No.
because things happen to us. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. We don't know if we're going to see our next birthday. We don't know if our house is going to be on fire. We don't even know if we have a 5-minute evacuation notice. We don't know a lot of things, but we can be prepared for the unknown. And that being said, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. We have free webinars over on our Facebook group. Make sure you click on the link down below in the description box. Until next time, stay safe and be kind, everybody. Sending lots of love to each and everyone. And thank you, Kara, for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
Till next time, we'll have her come back. Bye for now.
Bye.